The Natchez City Cemetery was founded in 1821. Bodies that were already buried at the Memorial Park graveyard that were located near downtown Natchez were relocated here. The first new burial took place in January of 1822. This cemetery covers 100 acres. It's huge and sits on a bluff overlooking the Mississippi River, so it has some great views. This is the Old City Cemetery in Natchez, Mississippi. It's got a lot of cool monuments in here. As you see as we drive through here, this cemetery is renowned for all of the wrought iron fencing and the benches, the iron mausoleum doors, beautiful marble monuments that are throughout this cemetery. We ran into these buildings in the cemetery that are known as cistern houses. There were 4 of them, and apparently they were built so that they could shelter people who were at the cemetery in case it started raining. The main purpose was for them to capture rainwater. There were gutters that would run down into the cistern, and then they would use the rainwater to water the cemetery to keep its garden-like appeal. A huge cemetery.
It's really, really pretty.
The city purchased the first part of this new cemetery, which was originally 10 acres, from Colonel John Steele, and they paid $1,000 for it. Then they turned around and sold the plots for about $15 a piece.
Can you show them?
I just love how ornate that is with all, it looks like ivy.
And then all the gravestones are like propped up because it looks
and
like
there's
they're broken
actually,
or
see
fallen.
how they have these, it's like a log or a stick made out of metal, and then they're all throughout the middle of it too.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. What a neat plot. There are a number of prominent people who are buried here. Don Jose Vidal, he was the governor of Natchez, the Spanish district, in 1798. General John A. Quitman was a hero of the Mexican War. And Brigadier General Charles G. Dahlgren was commander of the 3rd Mississippi Regiment in the Confederate Army. One of the people buried here is William Johnson. He was known as the Barber of Natchez. And he's one of those interesting free people of color who had slaves himself. We ran into a lot of those stories when we were in the South on our road trip. He was a successful business owner, diarist, and man of property. He had as many as 15 slaves at one time. And the Johnson family plot is the only privately owned African-American lot in Plot 1 of the Natchez City Cemetery. So he's buried basically with the white people. He was born in 1809 to a black slave mother and her white owner, Captain William Johnson, and it was his father who freed him in 1820. He served as an apprentice to his uncle and opened a barbershop that served only white clients. By 1850, he had expanded his business to 5 shops, all of them staffed by African-American employees, and then he started buying up a lot of real estate. He kept a very thorough diary, which a lot of people have referred to look back over the history of Natchez. He had an ingenious way of using the hair from his barbershop. We talked with Patrick Keller about horsehair being used in plaster in some homes. Well, he used human hair in the plaster for his homes. So he finished his house that he had on State Street with hair from his barbershops. And William Johnson did die in 1851 because he was murdered over a property dispute. His diary was found in the attic of his home in 1938 and was published in 1951 by the Louisiana State University. That's the Jewish plot up there on top of the hill. This is a really cool mausoleum. Wilmer Shields. Awesome door.
Another one too.
Oh, yeah. Here in the distance, we have the only haunted location that we know about in the Natchez City Cemetery. That live oak tree is known as the Lone Sentinel, and it is around her that the ghosts of Confederate soldiers have been seen. And it's interesting that when you get to the foreground of the tree, you'll see there's a Confederate burial plot. In the 1980s, lightning struck this live oak. The lightning almost destroyed the tree, and about half of it had to be removed, and there is a large black scar on it. But imagine how immense this was before they had to cut off the part that was hit by lightning. It was given its name Lone Sentinel in 2001. Hal and Phyllis Davis of Beaumont, Texas were driving past the Confederate soldiers' lot in Plot 2. They looked beyond the graves of the grand old tree and clearly saw what appeared to be a Confederate soldier standing guard over the soldier's lot, his rifle on his right shoulder. And there are other people who have seen this lone soldier. He usually appears headless, so we're not sure if he lost his head in the war or something, but that is the only haunting that we know of officially in the cemetery. Well, that has Freemasonry stuff all over it, so it must be a Freemason plot. Look at that, it's got like a iron chain around it. And this is just like very light. It's light. That's from here. Very nice. Oh, it's got like a angel or something there. Wait, hold on a second. Eye? Or no?
An eye. It looks like an eye in the sun.
In the middle of the sun. Isn't that weird? Huh. There are some really cool legends here. One of which is about the turning angel. This was a statue that was erected to commemorate one of the city's worst catastrophes. What happened is on March 14th in 1908, the Natchez Drug Company, which was at the corner of Main and South Union Street, had a terrible explosion. The owner of the drug company bought a plot here for the 5 girls who died in the explosion that were his employees. The inscription on the monument reads, "Erected by the Natchez Drug Company to the memory of the unfortunate employees who lost their lives in the great disaster that destroyed its building on March 14th, 1908. The sculptor carved the statue in such a way that the face of the angel appears to turn towards visitors as they approach it. So some wonder, is this just a trick of the eye, an optical illusion, or is the angel really turning towards people who are there to visit? Another really unusual monument here is the grave of Rufus E. Case. He died in Louisiana in 1858. His monument looks like a wedding cake because it has these 3 tiers that are stacked on top of each other. And the reason why is because they needed to make his plot large because he wanted to be buried in his rocking chair. And apparently that's what they did. They buried him in his rocking chair. Now, the most unique plot in all of the cemetery, it took us a while to find it. You may have read somewhere on the internet or heard about this grave somewhere, and you weren't really sure what cemetery was that in. Well, this is the plot of Florence Irene Ford, and you've probably heard the stories about a mother who had stairs that were built down so that she could look in on her daughter's grave through a piece of glass, just to make sure that her daughter was okay, so that her daughter would know her mom was there. Well, Natchez City Cemetery is where that grave is, and here we take you to it. At marker 13, we have found the grave of the young lady who was put in a glass coffin or had the glass window behind her tombstone here. So this is her little tombstone. This is to the memory of Florence Irene, and her last name was Ford. She died of yellow fever. She died on October 30th, 1871. She's only 10. And then behind here, there they are. The stairs. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stairs, and then her mother could come down here and look in and make sure she was okay, and if she was scared of the thunder or what have you, and she'd be here for her. So we came to visit you today, Florence. I saw this earlier, your little angel sitting here. I had no idea that this was your grave. I thought, wow, that's a really neat little angel sitting on the wall. Had no idea that you were right there. It's a beautiful plot your mom put here for you. Very nice.